Hello, Aries. How are you? It's May 3rd. Sorry I've been MIA, but I haven't really had much to say. My cards haven't been calling me, so I figured when there's nothing to say, best to say nothing. But I thought I would check in today and take a look at the cards for the first half of May. We have some interesting movements coming up this week, actually. There's the full moon in Scorpio on the 7th. And on the same day that there's the full moon in Scorpio, the nodes change signs. So that's a big movement. I'm going to first pull 3 cards for you for advice for the end of the reading. And then we'll take a look at the cards. Now, it's interesting because, like I said, I haven't really... So, hold on. Can I get 3 cards, please, for Aries advice? 3 cards for Aries advice for the first half of May 2020. So, I was saying I didn't have much to say this period because obviously there's not a lot going on. And it's an interesting... Well, it's an interesting mix of so much going on in one sense and so little going on in another sense. And it's probably the first time in my life, and I imagine many people's lives, where we've genuinely been living in the now, right? Because we don't know what to do. We're waiting to be told when we can come out. In Italy here, it looks like they're going to start easing up next week. On Monday, on the 4th, but even still, it's like the restrictions have been lifted, but they really haven't. So it's looking more like towards the end of the month. But I saw this article that said, it talked about it as the Great Reset, right? And they weren't speaking astrologically or esoterically, but that's really what's happening now, but also with this whole sort of COVID moment here. 2 more cards, please, for Aries. Is the Great Reset. And we knew from that big old conjunction and eclipse back in January that something major was going to happen. I don't think we imagined it to be quite this major. But we've never had a forced opportunity to stop, sit still, and evaluate, take stock. You know, like, you know when your computer goes over, like your cable box freaks out and you have to unplug it and plug it back in. And there's a moment when it restarts and it takes a while to reconfigure. Or when things get an update, you know, anytime you update your computer, there's a whole process that you have to go through where you have to turn it off before you can turn it back on. And so I really feel like this whole moment has been a great reset, but on levels that we don't even understand yet. We won't understand for a while. Now, many of you, for all of us, our brain is in one way, shape, or form in a moment of trauma because it's living in a moment of uncertainty, and the brain absolutely hates uncertainty. And so this is causing a form of stress. You may not be consciously aware of it, but there is some form of stress that's going on in your system. And it will have different effects on all of us. Some people, I've seen a lot of people sort of taking stock of their lives, right? Because you go through routines without ever really thinking about it. And when your routine gets interrupted and you have to pick it up again, your brain will actually go through a risk-reward analysis and say, is it really worth it? So a lot of people are sort of taking stock on their habits, on their lifestyle, on the things that they've done without thinking, just like as second nature up until now. And now they want to be a lot more conscious about them, right? And so I thought that this idea of the Great Reset was really interesting because starting now, as they start to re-release us back into society, and we have to relearn everything because, you know, everything's changing. I'll keep that. But everything's changing. There's going to be new rules for this and new rules for that, and can't do this and can't do that. And a lot of those are going to stick for a very long time. There's that yang energy starting over, right? And then let's flip this one. Oh, and that's so funny. And then there's the no place like home, right? So we have these two energies going on. This is the cards for the overall energy of going from the idea that actually there's no place like home, and at the same time having to start over again, right? And so moving out of the home, stepping into a new energy, reinitiating. This is really the card of the initiation. It's the beginning of everything. And this, it's a 5, so it's kind of that conflict, chaos moment, which turns into a new opportunity. So let's get the challenge card. So can I get the challenge energy, please, for Aries, for May, for the first half? Yeah, first half of May. Challenge energy for Aries, first half of May. So it's really about like what sort of new energy. Oh, interesting. This is the card, if I'm not mistaken, this is the card that's sort of unique to this deck. It's part of the major arcana, but it's like a step over the world, right? This is the mastery, the illumination, the having, and there's that full moon, having finally reached the apex, the understanding, the conclusion, right? So it's interesting that we have here the challenge is the conclusion, and the overall energy is the new beginning, right? So there may be, and it's funny because I actually find this in myself, that now that we're talking about going back to life, I've actually grown not only quite accustomed, but really enjoying the lifestyle that I've had thus far. I have coffees on my balcony, and there's no traffic, there's no sound of traffic. And it's things like that, that we may have taken for granted, like the noise of traffic that we're so used to and we haven't had for 2.5 months is now going to suddenly start again. So, what does that feel like? Because we've gotten so used to the silence and waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning and hearing just the birds. And so maybe some people who have been living in the city and we're so used to that city energy are now going to be looking for different places, right? Maybe we're redefining what our home means. But there is, sort of coming into a phase of understanding, of reflection, of mastery of this moment, of also this is, because this is the Zen tarot. So the mastery of this, the Zen of this moment. As we then take this and look at all these, they all have these circular forms, right? These balls with this face on it. And that's what she does, but he has one here too. So it's like under the light of this moon, this full moon that we'll see on the 7th, coming to a state of understanding of our new form of energy and what we have learned from this time at home about what fire we want to start bringing to the world, or what we want to invest our precious yang energy into. Can I get the lesson, please, for Aries for the first half of May, please? Lesson for Aries, first half of May. Okay. So Jwal Cool. So Dharma unfolding. Remember that you are on a path. Take one step at a time to happiness. Okay. So let me get some more cards. So this is really about, like not rushing things, making sure, taking this opportunity of the being in the home to master this sort of Zen energy and master this illumination, right? The illumination that comes with the light of the moon. And so maybe at the full moon, things will start to crystallize into a stronger picture where this this light of the moon turns into a fire, ready to get going. Can I have the energy at the beginning of the month? Energy at the beginning of the month for Aries. Okay. Ooh, interesting. It's this is a 5 also. It's ride the wave, but it's in reverse. So we'll take a look at what that means. And energy for mid-month. Energy for mid-month. Oh. Also in reverse. And this one says flying, but you see how they're both like dolphins and unicorns? Both very playful creatures, both of them sort of jumping with this in its water element, this in its air element. But let's see what they mean in the reverse here. So, you may be mistaking a rogue wave for a fun ride. You can only coast for so long before you hit the shoreline with a smack. This might be for me. Like, I don't want my normal life to start all over again, so I just want to stay at home. The tide is ebbing and your activities are now preparing you for when that wonderful wave comes in for you to ride. You're meant to learn how to be a strong swimmer now. Don't worry, preparation ensures a successful result. However, you must wait patiently for the right moment to come. Now is the time for conscious preparation and skill building. Okay, so that's it. It's like really maximizing this time at home to bring reflections into full focus, to understand what wave we want to ride and what it looks like when, how surfers go out and they'll sit there for like forever until they find the right wave. So it's not necessarily about just jumping back into things, but jumping back in when the time is right. And then let's see this one here. Okay, so this one says, when you see the flying card reverse, it's a gentle reminder that there are times to take flight and times to remain grounded. And for now, you must avoid overreaching. There is still work to be done before you earn your wings. Interesting. Okay, so be patient. What you seek will not be out of reach forever. Remember the story of Icarus in Greek mythology, whose wax-made wings and overconfidence brought him too close to the sun. He perished because he didn't realize his limitations. Humility is a great power, and now you must exercise it. Doing too much too fast too soon only serves to prevent a beautiful flight later on. Okay, so this is pretty clear that so it's like we want to rush out of the house and get back to things, but really it's telling us to kind of take our time and do things in the right moment, to not put the cart before the horse. And even if there is the opportunity, it's like I was saying, it's going to be impossible for us to pick up our old routines the way they were when we left them. We didn't leave them on pause. They're demolished, right? So, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of people are making. It's like, oh, I just want to get back to my life. And there is no such thing as getting back to. There is only moving forward. And so right now is a moment when, particularly in these next couple of weeks, like I said, for us, they're going to start easing the things on the 4th, but really it won't be until the end of the month because they want to see what happens, like how people react and stuff like that. So it's like you may be dying to get out there and bring that fire energy into it, but it's saying like, be careful because it's a very clear path that's going one step at a time. So not to try and rush to get to a state of activity so quick, because there's still things to understand. There's still illuminations, considerations that need to come in. And that when the time is right, we will know, but that even though we're like raring to go, we must still move slowly. And remember at the beginning I was saying with that, the big reset, you know, when you reset your computer after it's been up, you know, you've upgraded it or downloaded an upgrade on software, it doesn't turn on and start immediately. There's a whole bunch of like little things you have to do. You have to re-register this program and you have to clean off this, and maybe some of your pictures have been lost, you know. So there's sort of this transition moment before new habits can start forming, like before things actually get going. And so that looks like what the next couple of weeks are going to be. Let's get 3 cards, please, for Aries, first half of May, please. Okay, so yeah, there's Knight of Wands, which is this energy. It's that desire to start like rushing into things, charge back in. 2 more cards, please, for May, for Aries, first half of May. I think also, you know, this time I think is really precious, especially leading up to this full moon, because, yes, and there's the Cancer energy, because this Cancer moon, you know, the North Node has been in Cancer for the last 2 years. And there's a lot, and that's the home, right? Dealing with issues about your home. Maybe some of you have like renovated your home. Maybe some of you have moved homes, redefined so the home, nurturing, caring for people, nostalgia, the past, these have all been the moon, the lunar energy. So these have all been under extreme focus over the last 2 years. And the nodes are about to move into Gemini, which is going to be a whole other game, right? So it's like between now and the 7th in particular, and then after that, after the 7th of May, again, we won't get off to a gallop immediately because the nodes need a little bit of time before they take action. But you're going to feel a shift of energy on the 7th, 7th or 8th. And from now until then, it's really about, and here's the 6th, right? So like between now and the 6th, it's really about mastering this lunar energy and all of the messages, like taking stock and looking at the past 2 years, taking stock of everything that you've learned about your home, about your family, about what family means to you, about what home means to you, about how you nurture yourself, about how you take care of those around you. All of those lessons are coming to a close right now before the nodes move into Gemini. So these first 6-7 days of the month, it's good to really just sort of be in that energy, because you won't have this again for 12 years, you know, and it's nice to sort of like at the end of a big moment, and this is a big moment, the North Node's in Cancer, just sort of to, you know, they say hindsight is 20/20, and it's because the nodes move through the zodiac backwards. So take this moment to really pull the things together, you know, like as if you were writing your summary, because starting on the 7th, there's going to be a new energy, change in energy. And when the time is right to start flying, right, riding the wave, flying, these are like super Gemini things. And it talked about Icarus, right, flying too close to the sun. And there's this guy. So when the time is right to start flying, you will know. It's not quite yet. I'm going to get one more card. Oh, nice. I was going to say, as I was shuffling this, I was like, thank God this one's a lot better than the last reading, because that new moon in Taurus was so crap. So there's the 10 of Pentacles, right? So things move forward, right? And again, it's like taking stock about the home, the family, really appreciating everything that you've learned, coming to the conclusion of what home life you want, enjoying the home, what family you want, you're nurturing. This is really a moment to celebrate and sort of revel in all that you've learned over these past 2 years. Now let me get a card here. Can I get a card for Aries? First half of May, please. What advice for Aries? First half of May, please. And that new moon reading was rough. It wasn't for everybody. I could tell when I was putting the cards down that it wasn't going to be for everyone. Thank goodness, because it had some really harsh energy. Okay, so here we have Archangel Raphael and Malachite. And there's a 1 and a 5, so there's a 6, just like this one. So grace for the grand gesture. Let's read what that means. Okay, here we go. We bring you the gift of grace for the grand gesture. Although there are times when even the smallest act, such as choosing to think a positive thought, is enough to transform your world, there also comes a time for the leap of faith, the grand gesture of unconditional trust, which came up a couple weeks ago, that will free you from the past, there's that nostalgia, and empower the universe to gift you with a new future. Okay, so some of you may be letting go, like this, as these nodes move, you may be letting go to a lot of pieces that were connected to your past, connected to your family. Maybe some of you have gone through like familial healing, ancestral healing, healing things within the family, healing issues with the mother, anything like any healing around lunar issues. Okay, so the grand gesture is the big step, the willingness to say to the universe, I trust you and I know it is time for life as I have known it to give way for a bigger, bolder experience, and I am willing to allow you to lead me into it. You then make an offering which confirms your declaration and empowers the universe to reward the faith you have demonstrated. The grand gesture cannot be forced. If it comes from a place of should or uncertainty, then you are not ready. And that may be this, like maybe some of you have things to say goodbye to and you know that it's time, but there's still like some loose threads that you have to tie up before you can do that. And so this is saying perhaps some of you aren't ready. When that wait, like you know what you want to do, but all the pieces aren't in place yet. And so not to worry, because you'll know when that right wave comes in. Okay, the grand gesture must be unconditional. It must be something you offer, not for what you can get in return, although the rewards will be rich, but because you are willing to offer something of yourself in service to love. When it comes from this place, the grand gesture is a trigger for divine grace to express itself in your life in an entirely new way, surpassing all expectations and showering you with blessings. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit more. There is a time in life for small steps and token offerings. These can be very powerful and trigger an outflow of enormous compassion from the universe as they generate opportunities and connections to encourage you to continue building upon those first steps with greater strides. Then there are times when you are ready to show up for your life journey in a way that brooks no opposition. You won't be deterred. You have made a decision deep within, and you are absolutely willing, without hesitation or doubt, to say to the universe, this is my next move. Do your best. You are, in the most loving way possible, throwing down the gauntlet to life and allowing the universe to respond. Because you understand divine law, you know that what is offered from a place of loving devotion is always a safe bet, no matter how wild the risk may seem to be to the mind. Okay, so actually this kind of clears up a lot here. So like I said, first couple of days, or first half of the half month. So for the first week, it's really about taking stock, right? Getting full clarity, illumination, on everything you've learned in the past 2 years about the home, about the mother, about nurturing, about compassion, about what home feels like to you, about you feeling at home in your own body, in your own life, in your own experience, in your own energy, right? So really about like embracing feeling at home in this energy, in your fire energy. All right, I know they went the other way, but that's fine. So getting clear on there and not getting clear on what your next step is, like how you're gonna bring this into the universe, how you're gonna share it with the universe, this new and improved at home in your own fire energy person into the world. Now you may, and it says it's one step at a time, so there's no need to, if you're in a moment where you're not ready to rush in, where there's still some past things to heal, to look at, going over that great reset again, where there's the moment where you've rebooted, you've realized that you need to reboot it, and then there's the moment before you can actually start using the program. And then when it's time, you will realize. And then once you make this gesture, whatever it is, to start living your home truth, right? Everything that you've figured out over these last 2 years, and start bringing it into the community, your immediate community, which is Gemini, which is where the nodes are going, you're going to see grace for the grand gesture, right? So it's not something you want to rush, like, okay, I'm going to make the grand gesture, even though like the cake's not cooked, don't pull it out of the oven. Wait until the cake is baked, let it cool, frost it, like take all the necessary steps to make sure that this fireball that's coming out of this house, you see that fire energy that's radiating out of that house that you're about to throw into the universe, that it is fully, the word's only coming to me in Italian, sorry, that it's like fully inflamed, right? You don't want to you're not throwing little sparks anymore. You're coming out as a fireball, right? This is me. This is my fire energy. This is my maximum. This is what makes me happy, shine, and makes me feel like 10 of Cups, flying dolphins, and unicorns, right? Like there's all these sort of mythic, happy creatures here. And we find them at the end of this process that we've been going through with these nodes. We find them as we come towards the new moon. And the new moon, or sorry, not new moon, full moon. The full moon brings with us the confirmation of the mastery, the master of the self, the master of the Zen energy, the master of the lunar energy, our enlightenment. We are now cascading in illumination, right? Kind of like the same thing. Different ways of being illuminated. One is day, one is night. But these are sort of like also the fire and the male and the female energy. So as we come to this conclusion here at this full moon in Scorpio, which is called the flower moon. So like ready to burst forth. Don't rush things. You'll know when your wave comes. Just think of those surfers who sit out there and let lots of waves pass until they get the right one. And then when that time comes, when your wave comes in, after you've taken this moment to prepare everything properly, and you're in your full fire illumination self, then 10 cups, flying unicorns, happy dolphins, is sort of the end energy there. And that comes with that sort of happiness and satisfaction comes with accepting your own sort of fire energy, right? That once you're willing to accept this as you, as your home, that's what brings you this sense of contentment. All right, let's move into these. So if you picked this card, this is, I don't know if you can see that, there it goes, the anchor. Now, the keywords for the anchor are stop, stability, and fixed. The reflections are, anchors offer us a guarantee that even in the roughest seas, we will never stray too far. However, anchors are meant for temporary use. Boats are meant to move, to explore new waters, new waves. A boat permanently anchored is a contradiction. Has your temporary anchoring gone on too long? Oh, and that was like, one of these said that, right? Talking about the rogue wave. Is it time to sail to new shores? Pay attention if that which was meant to keep you grounded is starting to make you feel stuck. Okay, this one is the vine. Can you see that? It's not changing. All right, so the keywords for the vine are growth, abundance, multiplying, joyous time, expansion, bounty, harvest, and lineage. This is frequently a symbol that has only positive connotations, a time of growth, of abundance, of fruits of labor coming to the physical. Somewhere in your life, something is well planted and beginning to come to fruition. Enjoy this period and remember that it is all a question of timing as to when the fruit is ripe to pick. So that's like the same as these guys. And then this one here, oh, interesting. Remember, this took forever to come out. So this is the sailboat. So that ties to that anchor. Forward movement, calm, direction, journey, skill. Those are the keywords. The reflection are, the sailboat is a tool of progression, of which we are the masters. It is up to us to guide it through calm or stormy waters, to adjust our moves according to winds and currents. The archetypes can imply any range of emotional situations. The sailboat is at once a vessel, protection, a tool, a pleasure, but it is us who guide it, and so really we are the other half of this image. What are you doing with the tools at your disposition? Are you ready to face and embrace the unpredictable elements of nature? Are you ready to be the captain of your journey? Interesting. So a lot of that sort of resonating with these here. Some in like ready to harvest this at the right time. Some people having to let go of some things from the past, right? And see this kind of like house is sort of anchored there. And it wants to be more dynamic, right? So what do we have to let go of? What was meant to keep us our obstacle? And then finally, this is, you are the master of your ship. So the master of your ship. So what are you doing with that precious energy? And when will the time be right in order for, to sail to new shores for new harvests and stuff like that. All right, awesome. Thanks for watching. Happy May. I will be back for the full moon reading. Take care.